Yeah, it's like one of those videos where we gotta start out with editing, Rob. It's literally like 1:30 in the morning, and I felt it very necessary to give you guys a bit of a disclaimer. Now, if you like sass and sarcasm, then this episode is for you. However, if your Reddit levels of sensitive, you might want to go ahead and click out of the video right now. In fact, if you make it past the intro, then you are complicit and you can't leave me any fucked up comments. In fact, you should just go ahead and give me a thumbs up just for warning your ass. Hey, what's up you guys, this is Rob from the Gay Guy Plays, and today we are playing Hot or Not with all of the new Gas City mods. Except for the Amalgam mods, it's like going to be a different video, so just pretend that they don't exist. I know I do. So let's jump into it with the Aero set. The bonus on this one is damaging enemies while aim gliding will put up to 5 of them to sleep for 9 seconds upon landing. Now, if I'm going to be honest with you, the mechanic is pretty fucking cool. However, if it's attached to a bunch of mods that are kind of bunk, they're never going to find their way into our builds, and that mechanic might as well not exist whatsoever. Now, let's take a look at the effects of the mod itself. The first one we've got is actually an Exilis mod, which is nice because, you know, it's kind of one of those slots which isn't the most important part of a build, but we do have reduced gravity during aim glide. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this operates. I'm actually going to remove the mod so that we can see how it is without this. Now, Wisp makes for a great tester of this because as you can see right here, she's got some particles. So you can kind of see her flight path as she is aim gliding. So right now, as I'm aim gliding, you can kind of tell that she's kind of angling downwards, and we can see those particles going upwards. So let's do that one more time so you get a better visual of it. Again, you can see that she is slowly falling, and you can see those particles kind of going up and back. Now, let's go ahead and toss on Aero Vantage and see exactly what that changes. So right here, let's go ahead and slot that in. And then let's take a look at how, you know, pivotal this mod is for our builds. But as you can see right here, we're not actually going down whatsoever. The only thing that I will say about this mod is, of course, it doesn't give us more air time, but the time that we do have in the air, we're not really falling downwards. You know what I mean? It's pretty much just a straight line. It's just kind of like going straight, and I mean, you know, that's 100% necessary in so many of our builds, right? Now, the two mods that close out the set are Aero Periphery and Aero Agility. Aero Periphery can be put on any primary weapon out there, and it gives you negative 50% zoom while aim gliding. And then we've got Aero Agility, which is sniper specific and will give you 100% reload speed while aim gliding. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at how this works. So I've actually got a little Billy set up over here already. And as you can see, we're going to go ahead and do the full zoom in. So that's what a zoom in looks like without aim gliding. But as you can see right here, this is what it looks like while aim gliding. And the interesting thing is, if you notice, with the other mod that we've got put in there, it actually lets us kind of get a clean headshot off of this guy without dropping down until we're done aim gliding. So that's really, really interesting. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to take a shot right there, and you can see the stagger. So that's from the effect putting him to sleep. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what the reload speed is like just normally. Then we're going to shoot up in the air, right? And then we're going to reload speed in the air. And as you can see, it's a good bit faster. So let's try that one more time. So there's a shot in the air. And as you can see, we're actually reloading before we come down from there. Here's another shot, and you can tell that it is much, much slower. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how this effect actually comes into play when we're taking on enemies. Now you could probably tell by the title of this video that the sass monster was gonna come out at some point, right? Well, rah, here I am. Now, whether you agree or disagree with my standard combat Rubico Prime build, now keep in mind this is not for Eidolon hunting, so don't judge me, but can you tell me a single mod that I should give up for 100% reload speed while aim gliding? Or even better, a negative 50% zoom while aim gliding? I think that what we should replace is nothing, because that would be a terrible idea. However, what I'm going to do, because I do need to go ahead and show you how these mods operate, is make some really, really poor executive decisions. So I'm going to go ahead and remove Vital Sense and replace that with Aero Agility, then toss on Aero Periphery over this very excellent critical and status duration ribbon that I have. Goodbye, friends. Now, I am keeping Hunter's munitions on for a very specific reason, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that in the actual play, if we can call it that. Alrighty, so we've got a Billy pulled up, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to pop off a couple shots. Now, as you can see right here, he fell asleep, but wait, why is he awake again? Oh yeah, it's because of our Hunter's munitions slash procs. So he's asleep, but no, he's awake again. So if you are using Hunter's munitions in your builds or anything that has any kind of damage over time proc, it's going to end up waking them up. Usually we have a better threshold for that on like a lot of Warframe abilities, but this one it seems like if you even like nudge them slightly, they're going to end up waking up from any kind of damage. One of the things that I do want to point out though, come on, give it to me. Give me another slash proc so I can show the people at home. Where are you, slash proc? Just one? So as you can see, oh, he's dead. Okay, so the point I was trying to make is if you zoom in, any damage that you do while you're in air will actually go ahead and trigger that. So again, slash proc, and then we wait for slash proc to tick, and then he goes back to bed. So it is kind of funny, and it is kind of weird how you can do things like that, but legitimately for me, I don't really find it all too necessary. And taking up two mod slots on a single weapon for that ability to be effective, I'm gonna say this is not hot. Effect, really, really cool, and I wish it was on something else, but this one's out of here. Moving along, we have the Motus set. As you can see, the bonus here, oh, this is just earth-shattering. You have a 100% chance to become immune to knockdown effects, specifically while airborne. Great bonus, right? Now, as you can see, the actual effect on Motus Signal itself is increased double jump strength by 200%. I mean, listen, I'm so willing to give up casting speed, range, power. Let's just give all of that up for a double jump 200%. Let's go ahead and take a look at this in action. I'm actually going to remove this real quick so that you guys can go ahead and see how this performs without it. And I actually wanted to go ahead and test this right here. So we have a little bit of a jumping line. Look at this. Look at the simulacrum doing work. So our first jump is right here. Right? And then our second jump is where I don't even think we're really getting to the tippy top of that pole. But as you can see, that's our first jump, so slightly above that line. And then our second jump is over the tippy top of that. Our feet, maybe our cloth physics, go over the top of that just a little bit. So let's go ahead and toss on that Motus. So we've got Motus Signal, and that's going to improve our double jump height because, you know, that is essential to Warframe gameplay. Once again, we're going to go ahead and stand at this line. As you can see, it doesn't affect our single jumps because we're not going much past that line. But our double jump height actually puts us over the pillar by a good bit. So you can actually see us clearing the pillar itself because that is essential to Warframe gameplay. So the next mod in the set is Motus Setup. This one is shotgun specific. It's got 100% critical and status chance for 4 seconds after landing from a double or bullet jump. Now the duration is very, very short, but it's pretty easy to activate. So as you can see, we do have this equipped on an unmodded Tigris Prime, and the main reason for that is we wanted to go ahead and take a look at whether this mod is additive or multiplicative. If it's additive, that means it's going to add that 100% critical chance and status chance on top of whatever we've already got going. If it's multiplicative, that means it functions like a standard mod where it would just multiply whatever base critical or status chance we have. So let's take a look at this in action. As you can see, we're pulling up a little Billy right here. We've got him paused so we can take a close look at exactly what's going on. Now, as you can see, whenever we bullet or double jump, we are refreshing the duration of the buff. So let's go ahead and take a shot right there. And as you can tell, it's definitely not critting 100% of the time. In fact, 10% of the time we should be seeing an orange crit if this thing was additive. So, we're not getting 100% status chance either, which makes me think that we're just going to be hopping around for moderate boosts, which is not necessarily the worst depending on the actual shotgun itself, but it's kind of like an extra step that we need to activate in order to get our weapons to function better. And if you forget or you get too focused in combat, is this really worth having in your weapon? So let's go ahead and take a look at some more realistic builds and how this might fit in. Okay, so I've got a couple shotguns lined up that could potentially use Motus Setup. However, I figured we would use Boar Prime as a prime example as to exactly what that mod is competing against. As you can see, this is a pretty basic setup for a 100% status shotgun. There's only two mods here that you could argue may or may not belong. Now, the first one would be Seeking Fury. This one is a pure utility mod. It is reload speed and punch through. Now, I like a little bit of reload speed on some of our slower shotguns, plus the punch through is nice because you're not firing as fast as you would like, and you get to kind of penetrate through a whole group of enemies. But it is arguable that you could replace it. The next one, of course, is my Riven. Now, not everybody is going to have access to Rivens or really good rolls on Rivens, so it's one of those things where it's kind of like you don't necessarily have access to that all the time. But you could argue that in the two slots that these two currently habitate. Listen, it's one of those. We could go ahead and put Blaze, which is a base damage mod, as well as a fire damage mod. So that could definitely take the spot of one of those, and Seeking Fury could potentially be replaced by something like Vigilante Armament, which is 60% multi-shot and can enhance criticals. So a part of me is like, alright, so you've got to go up against Blaze and the multi-shot mod. Does that mean that, you know, bouncing around left, right, and center to try to get these things to go off will be worth the time? For some shotguns, yes. For some shotguns, no. Now let's go ahead and take a look at another one, which it might actually work with. So let's go ahead and type in, oh my god, it is the circle one. It is the Strun Wraith. Sometimes it takes a second in my brain for everything to click. Now, as you can see right here, here is my setup for the Strun Wraith. Again, we have ourselves a Riven, and as you can see, we are pushing this one up to 100% status. However, one of the things that I do want to go ahead and point out is at its base, this thing does have a 40% critical chance. Hi, editing Rob here. He meant to say 40% status chance, not critical chance. It's been a long day of recording. Let's go ahead and pass it back. Boop. So we could go ahead and swap things over a little bit, and as you can see, I've got Motus Setup in there as well as Hunter's Munitions, and we've swapped out the base damage to Viral. So now, because of the fact that we have access to pushing this weapon to over 100% status chance, we could go ahead and put in Hunter's Munitions instead of the Riven, and then we could kind of create this Viral potentially slash weapon. So let's go ahead and take a look at that in action. Now, this is one of those mods where I was like, you know, it might be worth the effort. The only thing that I do have to point out is you gotta keep bouncing around like a little bit of a bunny, and not every single Warframe out there is gonna be like Wisp, who can go invisible. Sometimes these enemies are going to be able to shoot you out of the air, and it might not be as fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one more time, and jump on in with that setup. So it's actually not too bad. The only thing is, it is a little bit of an inconvenience to go ahead and be bouncing around all the time, right? Now, my only argument with this one is the other setup that I have performs just as well, but the only difference is I don't have to jump around. So part of me is kind of like, is that necessarily worth having? The last one that I actually wanted to go ahead and show you was one that I actually got a little bit excited about, because it is the Vacor Heck. Now, the mod that we actually went ahead and replaced here, again, as you can see, I don't have a Riven for this one, was actually laser sights. Can I put this in? Laser? Maybe I misspelled it. Is it laser with an S? Laser sight, and this one is on headshot. You get 100% critical chance when aiming for 9 seconds. So this is one of those ones where we can argue, because it's got a good chunky status chance, and we've got a very similar amount of critical that is actually being bestowed upon it. So 120 goes down to 100%, but we get more status chance. So in my head, I'm like, this could be a halfway decent trade-off. Right? It's just a different type of play. Instead of aiming down sights all the time, literally I'd just be jumping all over the place, and then you'd be able to lay into your enemy with more status and almost as much crit. So for me, Motus Setup is one of those ones where it's not actually a not hot. This one might be kind of hot, so it might be like lukewarm depending on the specific shotgun and the specific setup that you want to run with it. And the last mod in the Motus series is Motus Impact. This increases the range of aerial melee attacks by 2 meters. Now keep in mind, that is aerial melee attacks, not ground slam attacks. Now let's take a look at this baby in action. So as you can see right here, we've got ourselves a little bit of a Billy. And we're gonna go ahead and aerial attack him, because this is essential combat in Warframe. As you can tell, even that last one didn't quite hit him. So all in all, I'm gonna say that this is a 100% essential mod, because you know, drones, and I'm actually not kidding about this one, I hate the shit out of drones. So this one, if you really hate drones and want to build a build specifically to spite them, this is gonna be the mod that you want to turn to. Again, an essential mod for all of your Warframe gameplay needs. So sometimes I ask myself why mods like this exist. And then I realize it's because DE wants to keep us in game, wondering why mods like this exist. And thus, they climb up the ranks of the Steam chart hours. I mean, really, think about all the time you've spent in game just thinking, but why? Alrighty, so the last group of set mods is the Proton series, and as you can see, the bonus from them is during a wall latch, gain 50% damage reduction. Now, I know that there are some people out there that are literally foaming at the mouth for this one. They want to go ahead and turn their Inaros into some wall latching immortal monster. Not that he wasn't an immortal monster before, but you know, they think more is more. So listen, do what you want to do. Me personally, this is not necessarily something that's up my alley. Now, as for the mod itself, this one is Proton Pulse. Wall dashing grants 100% bullet jump speed. And I'm gonna be real with you. This sounds good on paper, but in practice, when pairing it up with a wall latch set, I'm like, but why? How do you presume that I make this work? Let's go ahead and take a look at this in action. So as you can see, I've got this area as a little bit of a starting point, so you guys get the idea of how far we can actually clear on a standard bullet jump. So we end up in about this area of squares. Let's do that one more time so that you guys can get a really good idea for consistency's sake. So again, we're in this area for squares. However, when we go ahead and put Proton Pulse into effect, this is how far we end up. Now, of course, they say that it's bullet jump speed, but with more speed comes more distance that we clear, which, if I'm going to be honest with you, kind of poses a little bit of an issue when it comes to a wall latch set, because this set is really focused on wall latching, but sometimes it's a little bit too fast for us to actually go ahead and grab a wall, because it is so quick that you're moving so fast that you need to find a way to try to kind of like reorient yourself in the air. It's too quick for you to be doing bullet jumps off of, right? You can try to wall latch, but it's not always the easiest. So part of me is like, I don't know, maybe a little bit more control would have been a better idea when it came to our bullet jumps wall latch. I got it. I got it. But do you see how fast your reaction time has to be when it comes to actually wall latching after a Proton Pulse bullet jump? Let's try that one more time, just so that you guys can see exactly. Go back! Go back, Wisp! Fight it! There you go. And so part of me is just kind of like, this is a knot. Doesn't work with the thematics that we've got going on. Just DE wanted to make us a little bit faster in our bullet jumps and make us feel even more inadequate. Just out into the universe. Next up in the series, we have Proton Jet, and this one is a rifle-specific mod. As you can see, during a wall latch, gain 120% status chance and critical chance. Now, I'm gonna save y'all some video time, and just know that this is not additive, it's multiplicative, kind of like the shotgun mod that we had earlier, the Motus Setup. However, I did get really excited for this one, mainly because of the fact that in this specific spot, I had Argon Scope. Now, Argon Scope is on headshot, you get 135% critical chance when aiming for 9 seconds. This, of course, refreshes itself, so as long as you're getting more and more headshots, you're able to keep your critical chance up. But in this case, I'm like, alright, well, all I gotta do is wall latch, and I get a bonus to the status chance as well. So, this is gonna come in handy. Well, I spoke too soon. Now, let's go ahead and take this in, you know, realistic combat action. So first and foremost, you gotta find yourself a wall to latch onto, right? So as you can see, I'm gonna go ahead and latch onto this wall, and the zoom in function on this is not that great, right? And of course, there's only a limited amount of time that you can wall latch. So really what it boils down to is you have to be able to kill the enemies in the amount of time within that specific wall latch, and you don't get as much of a zoom in function. So you actually might not get as many headshots as you would want to get off of this. So, I mean, you could argue that because of the fact that we get a bonus to status chance, it's definitely worth the inconvenience. But me personally, I kind of feel like I'd rather just be getting headshots on the ground and refreshing the critical chance that way. I don't know. You guys let me know. I'm thinking that this might be a kind of lukewarm, not all the way to hot, but maybe in specific occasions, because you also got to keep in mind that we have to pay attention to the tile set we're in, because really, when are you going to be wall latching out in the plains, right? And closing up the series, we have Proton Snap. You have to hold wall latch for 2 seconds to gain 100% toxin damage and 50% status chance for 20 seconds. Now, the first thing that I thought in my head was like, oh, 20 seconds! That's not too bad at all! That is not too bad at all. However, what really got me thinking that maybe Proton Snap isn't the greatest plan set out there is the fact that it doesn't really tie in with the whole wall latch thing, because you're really not gonna be meleeing while you're on a wall, right? I don't know, but I did get excited over this because of the fact that with the specific Nami Skyla build, I was using Virulent Scourge, which is 60% Toxin and 60% status chance. So, I'm thinking in my head, we're trading 10% status chance for 40% more Toxin damage. And I'm like, we could potentially make that work. However, after playing with this for a little bit, I don't really know how to feel about it, because you gotta kind of wall latch, and then you gotta wait for, you gotta wall latch, and then you gotta wait for the thing to actually go off. So as you can see, that's when it finally comes into fruition, where you could go ahead and lay waste to an enemy, but you gotta jump back on the wall again, and then you wait for it to refresh. So a part of me is like, is it really worth it? Or could this build that I have an overpowered ribbon for not need the extra 40% toxin damage that I've already got on it? So in my head, I'm like, alright, well, I gotta wait for it to refresh. I'm gonna go ahead and do some melee. And I just felt like overall, I mean, while the 40% more toxin damage is a nice boost, I don't really think it's enough of a boost for me to go, ooh, ooh. But you know what? I'm gonna leave that one up to you. Do you think Proton Snap is hot or not? Because I think that it's definitely arguable depending on the situation. Am I like missing something? Is there a reason why there is a melee mod in a wall latch series? Have I not put the dots together? Or is this just another one of the conundrums that keeps us in game and keeps DE on the Steam charts? And we are finally free from all of those terrible set mods, and we can now explore terrible single mods, kicking things off with Gale Kick. 100% of melee damage is converted into impact damage on jump kick, knocking down nearby enemies on kill. And this is for the Exila slot on your Warframe, so part of me is like, the least that this could be is interesting, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this baby in action. Now, as you can see right here, we have level 12 enemies, and that's because we really need to show off the force of this kung fu. Now, for those of you guys who don't know how to actually kick in Warframe, a jump kick is basically just like a sliding, like a little slide in the air. And if you connect with an enemy, it's considered a jump kick. So as you can see right here, we've got a little corrupted butcher. And with this mod, we've brought him down into critical scenarios. So now very clearly, he's weakened and he will nearly die. Let's go ahead and toss another kick on him. And you can see we have leveled the playing field. We have knocked down our enemies. We haven't done any actual damage to them, but we've knocked them down, which, you know, really changes up combat in a big way. So let's go ahead and try that one more time. Again, it's just basically a sliding kick and, oh, down on the ground, you peasants! Very simply put, this is one of those mods that is going to completely change the game. Okay, so for those of you guys who are actually curious about how this works, it bases the damage of the kick off of the base damage on your melee. So whether you want to go ahead and equip in Steel Charge, or you want to go ahead and mod your weapon specifically for increasing its base damage. So I'm going to go ahead and slide on over here and grab a little bit of Spoiled Strike and replace Virulent Scourge with that. So as you can see, we've got a little boost to our base damage. I am again pulling up our very intimidating level 12 Corrupted Butchers. And this time around, you'll notice that with a single kick, that dude is dead, and the guy behind him is also dead. Let's go ahead and take that guy down. And as you can see, dead again. However, Gale Kick is full of hot air because legitimately, it doesn't deal damage to anything else. It is just specifically knocking enemies down. So, you know, a much needed mod for our roster of Warframes. Next up, we have another Exilus mod. This is Cavets Grace. Resist hard landings from falling at speeds of up to 40 meters per second. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I don't really know how to do speeds on here, but I think, like, the higher you go, the faster you fall. So all I'm going to really do is I'm going to just send up this little clone up here, and then I'm going to drop down. And look, I didn't have a hard landing. That mod was completely worth all of the endo that I put into it. Oh, so spectacular. Moving along, we have Anti-Grav Array. Now, this is one made for the Sentinels and the MOAs. This increases the height of the owner's jumps by 40%. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to unequip little Caladrius over here, and then we're going to do a measurement of jumps yet again. So as you can see right here, we do have that little marker that we go through for our single jump, and then for a bullet jump, just a little bit higher than that. So let's go ahead and toss Caladrius on real quick, our beautiful little MOA companion. He's so adorable. Come on, buddy. Yeah, just sort yourself out. And then we're gonna go ahead and jump down here real quick, and then we'll take a look at exactly how much of a boost we get. Oh, look at that! So for those of you guys who want a little bit of a boost to your jumps, oh, definitely. I think that's a must-have. I mean, that's exactly what these MOAs and robotic things are for. However, one of the things that I do want to point out, and I'm actually going to share this with you. This is kind of fun. It's also kind of pointless, but I've currently got Aero Vantage on, which has reduced gravity during aim glide. I've got the jump mod on, which is the Anti-Grav Array. In addition, I've got Tractor Beam, which is the aim glide duration and negative 50% gravity. And I'm kind of, it's the stupidest thing ever, but I kind of love it. You can just kind of like float around like a little ghost. And this has literally been the best part of this entire video. And last but not least, which honestly isn't really saying much, we have Odomedic. This is going to be one for the Sentinels and the MOAs yet again. Every 3 meters traversed by while running regenerates 40 health over 4 seconds. This effect can stack up to 3 times. In what universe? But let's go ahead and take a look at the way that this works. Now, as you can see, I do have a Helios setup, and that's mainly because of the fact that I found that this mod doesn't want to work with the MOA as well, because the MOA has to be in your area, or maybe this mod is just fucking weird. But as you can see, right here, you gotta kind of wall run a bit in order to get it to go off. And you'll see it right there in the top corner. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and keep on running. But as you note, I have not been able, this entire time of me wall running, I have not been able to stack up multiple instances of this. Interestingly enough, wall running up a wall will not count towards your 3 meters. Don't ask me why, but it just doesn't count it. You have to like run linearly. Don't ask me how it works, but legitimately it just seems so random. Like, I don't get it. Do you get it? It just kind of like turns on and you're like, okay, well, I guess whenever you are like 3 meters away from the original, then it'll go ahead and give you another little, I wasn't even on the wall that time. I wasn't even on the wall. Like, is it just running in general? Is it literally just running? No, I have to like wall latch at some point. But I've literally been sitting here kind of running around the map using like wall runs. And I spent like 30 minutes testing this mod out. And I'm just like, when is it going to stack up? Because, oh, there you go. We got a second stack. That's the first time ever. Can we do it again? I just find this so like ridiculous. A part of me is like, see, even when we just go for like a solid wall, well, I'm not even wall running. Why are you still going? This is why I don't trust Sentinels. I think that they're all evil and have minds of their own. But as you can see right here, there's one, all right? So let's do that again and see if we can continuously get more charges of it. Because I'm finding that it's just not consistent. So there's one. Let's do another set. Hello? I don't know. If one of y'all can tell me how this works, let me know. Because legitimately, that's the first time you saw earlier was the only time I was able to get this to 2 stacks. And I'm just thinking in my head that this isn't realistic to be using as like a life support tool in standard missions. I just don't see how, I mean, maybe if you just need a little, like, listen. You can use your operator and there's like an arcane where you can like teleport out of your Warframe and teleport back in. And you could just do that a bunch of times and it's way easier than this wall running bullshit. I'm just saying. Alright, closing things out, let's take a look at all of the neat mods that we've seen so far and decide what's hot and what's not. So starting things off, we have the Aero set. Now, this one gave a really, really cool bonus of whenever you were aim gliding and you hit enemies, up to 5 of them would fall asleep once you landed. Now, clearly this didn't work with the Hunter's Munition setup that we had on the snipers, but if we're gonna be honest, none of the mods really were good enough to take the place of a primary mod or a sniper mod that was already within the build. In addition to that, it did have that Exilis effect, where it doesn't have any kind of gravity when you bullet jump. Now honestly, that is fun when you pair that up with some of the MOA and Sentinel things that you can do, but is it really worth it? No. So I'm going to say that the Aero set is a big not. Moving on, we have the Motus set. Now the thing that honestly made me kind of like roll my eyes into the back of my head is that the bonus on these ones were the fact that you would become immune to knockdown specifically in the air. Okay, so let me ask you how this kind of works with the best mod from that entire grouping, which of course is Motus Setup. And this one gives you 100% status chance and 100% critical chance after you've done a double jump or a bullet jump. But the bonus only affects when you've landed. So tell me why the hell it matters if you get a bonus to not be able to get knocked down in the air. You want to land so that you can go ahead and get these bonuses, right? In addition to that, the other mod that was in there gave you 2 meters of aerial melee. After you aerial melee, you don't stay in the air. You come down. So why are we getting bonuses off of all of that? So the whole like Motus series, aside from Motus Setup, is gonna be a not. but Motus Setup is arguably one of the mods that might be slightly hot, like lukewarm, like maybe slightly above lukewarm. Like you maybe might not give it to a baby quite yet in their bottle, like you'd wait like 2 to 3 minutes. So for me, that's a potential hot, but not really a full-fledged one. Next up, we have the Proton set, which just hurt my head, because again, this one was reduced damage while you're wall latched, but the best one out of all of that, well, I don't know, it had a couple good ones, but we had the 120% crit and status on wall latch, so that definitely synergized with it, but of course you can't get a good zoom in on that, or at least I personally don't feel like you can get a good accurate zoom in. Arguably, potentially could be a hot, but again, more like almost too hot for the baby to be drinking, but not quite hot enough to say that it's super hot. It's just like slightly above lukewarm. But of course, with that one, you have to continuously wall latch in order to get the benefits, because of course, you could be coming down and then you lose all of those bonuses. The other one that was in that set that, again, I don't feel synergized well at all was the 100% toxin and 50% status, and I believe this one was Proton Pulse, where you would get that for 20 seconds, which I was like, I respect that. 20 seconds, not bad, but you had to wall latch for 2 seconds. You had to hold the wall latch for 2 seconds. Now for me, if it was just wall latch, then you get it for 20 seconds, I could see that being potentially good, but when it comes up against some of the other mods, I'm just like, no. And again, it doesn't synergize with the whole bonus damage redux while you're wall latched, because you coming down to melee. Doesn't make any sense to me. Then of course they had that crazy bullet jump speed after a wall latch. Y'all, you're not gonna be wall latching after that, because you're gonna be zooming too fast. Then after that we had Gale Kick, which was epic. It was epic. That one is a definite hot. Definitely equip that on all of your Warframes SCP. We need more creative mods like that. And then after that, we have Cavets Grace, which you know is a big competitor for that slot, because you're going to be doing a lot of falling from 40 meters plus speed. So you need to make sure that you absolutely don't have a hard landing, instead of maybe, you know, just sliding right as you hit the bottom. Just pointing that out there. And then we have the Anti-Grav Array, which gives you bonus jumps. I mean, really, what are we putting on our Sentinels anyway? Just go ahead and toss it in there and have a great day. Listen, you're getting your bonus. It's better than the double jump bonus that you get off of the Motus set. So sure, why not? And then we have Odomedic, which just makes me believe that all robotic creatures are plotting against us. I mean, take a look at what happened with the Sentients, right? Regardless, leave your personal feelings about these mods down in the comments below. Maybe I got something wrong. Let me know. Regardless, that about does it for me for now. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. Definitely stay tuned, because we're going to talk about amalgam mods at some point soon too. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.